Hello everybody, Eric from Hit Subscribe here, and today I am going to walk you through the Hit Subscribe posting template that we use with our clients. This is a spreadsheet that we use with all of our clients, and it contains all of the information necessary to write a successful blog post. So this is mainly aimed at Hit Subscribe clients and prospects to understand how to work with us, but if you watch this video, whoever you are, you will see all of the elements for a successful blog post here, so stay tuned if that sounds interesting. All right, now before we get started with that, let me just briefly explain the motivation for this video and for this template. In short, this is how we work with our clients. We have this set of things that we require somebody to fill out, and it has been our experience over the last 2.5 years or so that these are all necessary to have a successful blog post in the content marketing sense. And what you're going to see here is really meant to help you as a client figure out how to fill this out if you are going to be figuring it out, or to show you what we're going to be doing and sharing with you if you want us to fill this spreadsheet out. It's also worth mentioning, if you are considering working with us, this is one of the core differences between our content-only model and the other higher tier models. In the content-only paradigm, you fill this out, and we require you to come up with all of this information so that we can do successful posts for you. And if you go to one of our higher tier offerings, those are more turnkey, and we figure all of that out for you as part of a posting roadmap exercise. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do here is briefly walk through all of these fields, and I'm going to describe the field, what it is, and whether we require it or not if you are going to be filling this out. So the first field that we've got here is the blog post title. And the blog post title is probably the most self-explanatory thing that you will see here. This is the title of the blog post that we will refer to when planning and posting and everything else. The next thing is the readership source, and this is a little less intuitive. Before moving on, let me mention the blog post title is mandatory. They all need one of those. Next thing is the readership source. And this is basically, we're writing blog posts for pay. So if you're giving us money, we want to make sure people are reading them. Otherwise, what's the point? And the readership source is basically the primary way that your readers are going to wind up on the blog post. With most of the posts that we do, that's organic search. We write posts that are intended to rank in the search engines. And when they do that, searchers will come and they will read the blog post. But other areas, readership sources include maybe you want to promote it via your social media, so you're looking for share. You might syndicate it somewhere. You might actually have a post commissioned for your blog that you're just going to literally show to people during sales conversations to refer to. So there are a lot of different ways that you might get your core reader constituency for the post to read it, but we need to know what that is in order to write a good post for you. The next thing that we're talking about here is the reader persona. So we know how the reader is going to get to the post. Now we need to know who that reader is. We write to anybody in the IT organization reporting into the CIO at any level. So that might be an experienced software developer. It might be QA tester, it might be director level IT leader. Those are some of the examples of personas that we want to know about to whom we're speaking. The more specific you can be when you're speaking to your reader, the better the post is going to be. And both readership source and reader persona are required. Next up is the post mission. This is the most frequently confused thing on our spreadsheet, so I really want to make this one as clear as possible. And the post mission, this isn't where you put notes about what you want the post to be about. The mission factors in the readership source and the persona, and it says once you have this persona, we've acquired them and they're reading, what is it we want them to do? So this might be read to the end and bookmark the site because you like the article so much. It might be click on a call to action at the bottom. It might be click through to another article. It's going to be something, though. There is something that once we attract this primary reader, we want him or her to go do when they're finished reading the post, or maybe during reading the post. But there's a mission that we have for these readers. There's something we're trying to accomplish. The next up, part and parcel with the post mission, which, by the way, is also required, is the mission KPI. This, too, is required. And the mission KPI is basically how are we measuring whether we're accomplishing that mission. So if we're looking, for instance, to get a lot of people via organic search and then maybe retarget them later on social media for something, the main KPI there is just going to be raw viewership on that page. If the goal is just to get as many people to your site for retargeting as possible. If we're trying to get them to click through to maybe your downloads page, then the KPI is either going to be the click-through rate there or the maybe ancillary to that is the downloads. But we want to pick something that we can be measuring and calling success when we're done with this. And this is one of the areas that we find, especially those folks who aren't quite sure what they're doing with their content marketing, where we can really suss out whether you need us to help you plan out the blog posts or whether you're equipped to do that yourself. If you come to us with a KPI that's just, well, we want to have content, and, we want to look authoritative and we want to be blogging, that's all fine and good, but we can't measure that. And I can't speak to whether that's going to earn you any ROI on the blog posts we're writing. And if I can't speak to that, I don't want to take your money. So if you have kind of nebulous goals and KPIs for the posts, I will say a hearty, thanks, but no thanks in terms of the business for us, because we want to make sure that we're getting you a return on your investment. And if you're kind of at that earlier stage, you might want to try writing the content yourself or, working kind of on your end to come up with a plan and make sure that an actual investment in content marketing makes sense. So everything I've talked about here so far is what we require in order to make sure we're doing as good a job as possible and that we're able to measure that we're earning you return on investment. Now let's talk about some things that are not required. One of these is the client post notes or summary field. This is the venue if you want to talk about something you'd like to see in the post, maybe a couple bullet points you want to see mentioned, or if you have ideas about tone or whatever, that's where this goes. We don't want that in the post mission because things that you might want to see in the blog post aren't the mission. Those are just notes for the author about the content itself. The next thing up is delivery date. That is not required because we're not going to ask you in all cases to plan that. That's something that we're working on together. It is a piece of information we both need and we'll get in there and plan around, but we're not going to hand this over to you and say, bring this back filled out with a delivery date or we're not working with you. We can work on that. The next field, and I should mention that all of the rest of these that I'm going to list are specifically related to organic search. And so if the play here isn't organic search, you can forget about all of the rest of these. The first one here is the keyword field. If you have an organic post, this is required because even if you're planning it, we need to know what you're optimizing for, or we can't help you with that by doing kind of the on-page SEO stuff in our drafting process and then also checking for it in our quality assurance process. So we do need that information from you. But everything else after that is really meant for communication about the post. The first thing up is search intent, and I have actually done a video on this for Hit Subscribe, but search intent is basically the question people are asking when they're typing a search into Google. If we are doing this for you, we will fill that out because it's part of the post-planning process. The next thing up is the search volume. This is just how many people are searching for this search term each month. According to the tool we use, which is Keywords Everywhere, we use this for measuring relative volume of terms. After that, we have the search difficulty. When we're filling this out, we're going to look at your site's domain authority and basically provide you with a qualitative description of how hard it will be for you to rank for this keyword. And that ranges anywhere from very easy to very difficult. The next thing that we list here is called SERP Opportunity. This is probably the hardest thing to understand, but if you think of a search engine results page as having real estate, this is the degree to which there is available real estate there for you to rank. So you'll do some searches where you just see a list of 10 articles and that's it. And then you'll do other searches where they have a video carousel and a people also ask, and maybe they have a snippet in there where they answer some question. And you can probably picture this. There's a lot of stuff in the SERP, search engine results page. If there's a lot of stuff there, we don't have much opportunity to rank. That can make ranking a dicier proposition. If there's only actually 2 or 3 articles on that front page, there's not a lot to rank. Whereas if there's 10, we have more opportunities to bring in traffic. The second to last thing here is the SEO title. You may or may not know this. I've actually written a blog post if you want to check it out. There are 3 different titles that you can give to a single blog post. SEO title is one. The title in the beginning that I mentioned, the required one, which is called an H1 title, that is another one. The third, if you're interested in, is the Open Graph social media title. Not important here, but the SEO title does matter if we want to give this post a slightly different title for SEO purposes. Usually, I would say 95% of the time, we're not filling that out. And then finally, remarks is just anywhere for you to discuss with us anything about the post that isn't intended in the post notes for the author to read and incorporate. This is just kind of where we communicate maybe meta logistics about the actual planning process. And that is going to do it for what is required and what the different fields are. Next up, we're going to take a look at how we would actually go about filling these out.
All right, so with all of our definitions in mind, let's take a look at an actual practical example, if you will. And to do this, Hit Subscribe actually has this site that we've created. I've contributed a lot to it along with some of the authors, and it's called Make Me a Programmer. The target audience here is aspiring software developers. They're very new software developers and people with questions about the field, like why are there so many programming languages and what is the best way to learn C#. And the idea with this site is we wanted to create something that was just a pure organic traffic play to see what we could do by writing a handful of articles and bringing in that traffic and eventually, which we've recently done, instrumenting it for affiliate links. The idea basically being, hey, if we can build a site with pretty little effort that makes money through affiliate links, imagine what we can do for your product. And for what it's worth, this has been a pretty nice success so far. So it's kind of nice for the aspiring developer community because it's a resource. It helps us cover our cost of hosting this site, and it makes for an interesting case study about organic search and blogging. And we are going to look at planning a couple of posts for this site, Make Me a Programmer, and I'll show you what this would look like if we were kind of doing both ends, like the client and the service provider, Hit Subscribe. But this is actually a great example of how you could use a loan. So the first column here, the title, we went and saw that this article, What is the Best Way to Learn C#, has ranked pretty well and made its way up. So maybe we want to do one that's like the best way to rank for JavaScript. And sure enough, that does 1,900 searches a month. Looks like a good thing to write about. I'm not going to go into too much detail here about picking good organic posts. That's something we'll handle for you if you want to be a turnkey client. But suffice it to say, let's say we've done our research and analyzed the SERP and said that the best title for this is actually What is the Best Way to Learn JavaScript? So that becomes the blog post's title. Now, if we're filling this out, who would want to read about the best way to learn JavaScript? And how would they get there? Well, this is an organic play because we've determined this is a pretty good keyword. And obviously, who's going to be reading about this? It's going to be inexperienced JavaScript developers that are interested in learning JavaScript. So we're capturing this information for the sake of the author. Now the author knows people are coming from Google. They're going to be inexperienced JavaScript developers. And here is my title. The next thing we're going to do is tell the author all about what we're trying to do with this post. And I don't mean what the post is about, but as I mentioned before, the actual mission, why we're writing this. And so in this case, we want to attract organic searchers that are interested in how to learn JavaScript in the best way. And we want to be helpful. We want to be helpful because it's good for us if they read to the bottom of the page and it helps our stats, and it's good for them because, helpful is nice. And so we want to do that. But we also want to mention that the commercial interest here is that we would like them to read through, and as they're finding it helpful, we'll have some affiliate links in there. Hopefully the readers will click on these affiliate links and buy the books or the video courses or whatever in question. So now if we think about a KPI for that, that's pretty easy. Why don't we say that the amount of affiliate revenue that we earn from the post, that's going to be our KPI for evaluating whether this is a success or not. Now, here's where, if we were doing this for a client, they might come in and make a note or two about the post. In this case, maybe, hey, please don't make this too salesy. Maybe we'd rather give up a little bit of money and not look scummy than we would make a few extra dollars. So this is where you can kind of communicate with the author. This is not the mission. It's just notes about the post. Delivery date, I'm just kind of going to throw one in here, but in terms of how we work with you as a client, this is something we plan carefully and stick to carefully. Moving on to the organic profile here, I'm just going to rapid fire throw these in because this is something that either we handle for you or you don't need to do. So this is just what it looks like. This is a best way to learn JavaScript. It's a how-to search intent. 1,900 searches a month volume, which is pretty good. The difficulty is easy. Lots of SERP opportunity. This is actually a great keyword, and I think I'll probably write a Make Me a Programmer post about it. It's that good. Let's now look at another example, and this one is going to be a pot-stirring share target type post. And I do want to offer a caveat here that this is a little negative. It's just a very vivid example that I wanted to pick. I generally wouldn't recommend for a company out there to write something like this on your content marketing blog, but let's call it C++ will be dead by 2022, so learn something else. Now this is going to go for social media shares, stir controversy on Reddit, all that, and our target audience is really any software developer. And so this is an example of something that would be different than organic. We're just trying to get people out there talking about it, sharing it, driving traffic to the site, kind of through the controversy. And so that's reflected in the mission. We want everybody sharing and screaming at each other about it and debating it heartily on these forums, hopefully coming along. And then we've got this slightly underhanded goal of convincing people that C++ will be dead so that they're going to read our JavaScript tutorial. This might be a mission that you have. You might kind of want to divide the audience. That's a thing people do. It's not usually what we recommend, but there's a time and a place. And so our KPI in this case is going to be click-throughs to the JavaScript post if our desire is to drive people there. And then we got the post notes and a delivery date. And that's going to wrap it because this search has no organic profile. So anything that's like a syndicated post, guest post, etc., we're just going to wrap it up there. We'll still schedule and do those, but that's a different kind of thing. So hopefully this is a helpful example of how to fill out the sheet and how we work.
And that is going to do it for the examples. So now we've gone through the fields themselves, and you've seen a couple of examples of what this might look like. And I want to reinforce something here to wrap up, which is that we do this with each and every one of our clients, and we have found over the course of doing hundreds and hundreds, I think by now thousands of blog posts for a couple of dozen different clients, that these are the fields that are necessary to have the best chance of success. So really here, it's not a question of whether these get filled out or not. We need this in order to succeed on your behalf. It's just a question of who does it. So if you are not comfortable filling these out, or you're not yet familiar with all the terms, that is fine. We will fill it out on your behalf. If you understand enough and you have plenty of marketing savvy and all of this makes sense to you and you want to fill all of this out for our consumption, that is fine as well. Obviously, we would love to engage at the higher tier offerings, but we're just happy to engage however makes sense for you. So whichever one of these models makes the most sense, we will do it. And this is, in our opinion, the key to having a successful engagement. And for any of those of you watching out there who aren't intending to engage with us, or who maybe have watched this and decided to do your own thing, please absolutely feel free to use this. It is helpful, and it can really help you make sure that you're getting the most bang for your buck in your own content marketing efforts. So I appreciate you watching, and if you are interested and want to check out some of our other videos on YouTube, please feel free to do that. We do a lot of videos about post planning and topics of this nature. And if you do that, feel free to give us a like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we will then catch you in the next video. Thank you.